Disruption. So disruption for me began, I think, in the 1980s. I thought of it as disruption 1.0. And at that time, I went from Credit Suisse, I went to the Silicon Valley, and I was seeing companies like Oracle and Applied Materials and Intel, and these were wee companies. And at that point, I was publisher of a magazine, a national magazine that tracked the financial strategies of the technology industry. And so I took all of my wealth, literally, not like 99% of it, and put it into these small companies like Oracle and Applied Materials. And I'd go to dinner parties and I'd say, I invested in chips. And people would say, chocolate? Chocolate chips? And I said, no, semiconductor chips. And that would just go right over their head. And so I saw disruption at that point and I invested it. Now, in addition to giving me a couple of little coins in my pocket, it also provided me with a tremendous historical perspective on the evolution of technology, where we were, what disruption was at that time, and then going forward. Now we hit this point, and what is disruption? So disruption is an innovation that creates a new market that overtakes an old market. And we've seen a lot of these. This is also, this disruption of 2.0, what I call it, gave birth to the sharing economy. Doing better with what we have, underutilized assets and excess capacity, ergo Uber. My fund was the third investor in Uber in the early days. And mostly we saw it as, yes, doing better with what we have, doing better with cars, but also to create these workforces, to put people back to work, to give them jobs. And that's something that's an ongoing conversation, both politically as well as personally for everyone. And certainly fintech is trying to help and reach people of the underserved. But clearly, if we put people and then we create self-sufficiency, that's going to move our whole world forward. This is disruption from the US perspective, a person who won't get out of his own or her own way or anyone else's way. I saw this morning. Connie had this as well. Connie, you took this from me. I don't know where you are. Where are you? You took this from me. You must have stolen it from my house. But when I showed this to other people at home, they didn't laugh. They were terrified because the fact is that a lot of people in the US actually feel that Trump might even start a war. And he will because he can. I mean, he is that psychotic, but I don't want to get into that. And when I drink later tonight, then you talk to me about that. Okay. Disruption in traditional spaces. We've seen finance, we've seen transportation, hospitality, healthcare, entertainment, all the way down. And this is not to say that this 2.0 is going to be replaced. We're seeing fintech and investment into fintech in a very robust way. We're seeing cybersecurity. If anybody has been in Israel, what they're doing there is absolutely incredible and very much needed. We are amassing tremendous amounts of data, and we are needing to secure everything everywhere we go. Interestingly enough, there's a tremendous amount of appetite for technology. I was speaking to someone, I won't call him out, I don't know if he's here, about investing into technology. And he said, well, we invest into brands and consumer brands and this and that. And I said, that's fantastic. But who do you think accelerates these brands? It is technology. 50 companies have raised $21 billion in venture capital at a market valuation of $242 billion. Now, I'm happy to send any of these slides to all of you. Some of these companies you will absolutely understand, and some of these companies you haven't even heard of. But this is comprising a very big appetite from the Silicon Valley and actually internationally, but primarily, unfortunately, from the Silicon Valley. Disruption 3.0, what does that look like? We heard a bit of it today. Martin, we've heard actually throughout the day, ways to apply artificial intelligence. We're going to start with IoT, autonomous cars, and then go through this list. I'm going to do it fast. I have 25 minutes. I usually speak for an hour, but I only have 25 minutes, so I'm going to do this in 25 minutes. Can you all understand what I'm saying? Just nod. Yes? Okay, good. All right, because I can't speak any slower because I'll never get through this. All right. So Internet of Things, what is that? It's a rapidly growing network of objects that are able to collect and exchange data using embedded sensors. There is tremendous amount of applications and creating a big ecosystem. It is expected to be worth trillions of dollars in 2020. And there are many companies and certainly stocks that you all should be watching. This is a very big sector. Oh, sorry. Smarter products, that's what we're all talking about. There's a company called Everything. They just did a $25 million Series B round. I wasn't in it. I'll have to say, I don't know what happened. I had a moron moment. But this company basically creates a digital identity for all consumer products. So basically, it links the consumer products to the web, and then it manages data in real time, driving many varieties of applications and experiences. That's something that should be on your radar. It's called Everything. Applications in IoT, limitless. Smart homes, smart cities, connected cards, smart implants. Now, this is very interesting, the smart implants. I am on the board, the Dean's Fellow Board at Stanford Medical School, and I'm also on the Digital Health Board at Stanford Hospital. And a lot of what we're seeing is how do we gain as much data as possible? Because in the United States, the NIH under Obama is really focusing on predictive medicine, predictive health. How do we collect the data so that we drive to these predictives and more accurate diagnostics and then protocols? What are we going to do to unburden our economy with unnecessary testing and unnecessary drugs? How are we going to move towards precision health? That's an area that I think we all should be looking at, because to tell you the truth, why are we bombing each other? Shouldn't we be healing each other? What we're doing here and in the Silicon Valley, but everywhere, is if we invest in digital health, we invest in efficiencies around health, we're going to be able to elevate everyone. And so the smart implants is a way not only externally where we have Fitbits and we have other types of assessment and data collecting and monitoring devices, but the smart implants are actually things like smart valves for the heart, smart stents. Very, very interesting, and an area that I think should all be on your radar. Okay, autonomous cars. As you all know, and you've probably read about, that Intel bought Mobileye. That's an Israeli company for $15 billion. I think that was slightly overvalued, but who am I to talk about that? All right, guys, it's leading to the self-driving market. Now, this sector is worth $25 billion annually by 2025. I think that's underestimating it. But then on the other hand, what is autonomous cars? And part of what I like to do is sort of educate you a little bit on autonomous cars, because we don't have it. There are 5 levels. I was talking to David Liu, who's head of this sector at Google, and we were talking a little bit about what the levels are. So level 1, helping out. We already have that, cruise control, yes? Level 2, it helps you drive. We're only on level 2. That's what a Tesla is. Going down to level 3, that's maybe 5 years away. And that is, slowing down, assessing, and deciding for you different types of capabilities. And then level 4, human becoming indispensable. But that's really only in limited spaces, like a city. It's only a small geo-limited space. And level 5, sure, get into the car, no wheels, no hands, no nothing, read your paper. And actually, it will then connect to your calendar, so you won't even have to tell the car where you're going. It will just go for you. I just want to move back. On this side are the players in this area already. Okay, I think we're going to add probably 3 to 5 more in the next 2 years, and then continuing on top of that. Virtual reality. So you heard a lot about virtual reality. Connie touched upon it, Marty touched upon. We had a lot of people touching about it today. I think it's really interesting. The way I look at virtual reality, it either defines my dating experiences, one, or it defines something more like different applications such as health, in which case we already talked about, and Marty was talking about in Facebook, and also, let's say, entertainment. This is actually fascinating. So this is Live Like VR. You can actually enter an arena, right, through your virtual reality, through your goggles, right? You can enter the arena, and now the broadcasters are broadcasting down into your eye, your goggles. So subsequently, you can be in the arena. Manny, you just broadcasted a game. You don't have to go to the arena anymore. In fact, you don't even have to have friends over. You can have avatar friends come over. And they're less expensive. They don't drink all your beer. They don't make a mess. Good luck with that. That sounds like a good idea to me. All right, augmented reality. Now, augmented reality is when you use existing environments and overlays it with info on top. What Nintendo did is they basically became relevant again. Nintendo did. When they took and they put Pokemon Go and they set it into action, now you see children all around the cities walking in like this and bumping into things and walking into streets, and some grown-ups as well. I must say I did try Pokemon Go. It was actually fascinating, but that was about it. I tried it and I got very dizzy. But I think that there is something here to augmented reality. Here are some applications. You want to climb Mount Everest or do some excavation. You can now pop it onto your desk and figure out how you're going to go up and down. Shoes from manufacturing, you're going to look at the specs, and then all of a sudden you're going to see the shoe pop right in front of you, and many, many other applications. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. We've talked about it. We've talked about a lot of the applications of it. It really connects everything. It is driven by everything. It is, we have 3 levels of artificial intelligence because, let's be clear, there really isn't any artificial intelligence to the point of being super intelligent. We are still having to program, yes, machines. And so right now we are continuing sort of in the weak or called narrow AI. Then we go to general AI. And we are, in a lot of ways, right there between weak and general. And when these machines start to have capabilities that far exceed ours, that's when we're talking about super intelligence. And that is when something becomes a dilemma, a philosophical dilemma. What happens when AI is more effective at judging, at diagnosing, at flying planes, at driving cars? Then who owns it? Who owns it? Corporations? The public? Okay, that's a thought. Your homework for later. All right. Blockchain. All right. Now, I always tell my children, never tell people you know about something more than you do. That would be blockchain for me. I know a little bit about blockchain. Okay? I know that it is obviously creating efficiencies. We know that right now there is investment banks that are realizing an average of 10 billion. There's a consortium of banks and tech giants that have come together around this new type of blockchain currency. So there was Bitcoin, yeah, and there is Bitcoin, and that is definitely one, but there's also Darkcoin, there's also Ethereum, sorry. And there are a lot of efficiencies around banking that are going to be created by this. But where it's going to go, I think, is somewhat of a don't know. The person to talk to, though, would be KT, because he's investing. I don't know if he's here in a lot of this space, and he can speak to it much more intelligently than I, because I'm sort of like this. I'm not quite sure. On some hand, it might be a Ponzi scheme. Some people call it shitcoin, instead of Bitcoin. But on the other side, perhaps it's creating hope. And I really do believe that it is. And the more that I start to educate myself, the more I do feel that we're heading in a direction we should be looking at that and educating ourselves more as we go forward in this. 3D printing. So I was in Dubai, 3 days ago, which is why I look a wee bit tired. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to create, Dubai has 96% they import. They have no manufacturing there. And so interestingly enough, Dubai is trying to create this manufacturing hub, 3D printing. This is a skyscraper that they are printing. They're doing a 3D printed skyscraper. They already have a 3D printed office. And these right now are the different applications of 3D printing, or some of them. We've got the bionic ear. This is 3D printed. This is a car. and this is a gun, a 3D printed gun. And this scares me, this gives me hope, and I'm hoping that this is going to produce and create a small revolution in the car industry, but I think that 3D printing as a whole is an area that is very revolutionary. Drones. We have drones right now that are providing cardiac defibrillators. We are having drones right now that have, I love this is called a spy fly. It's a tiny little thing, so it can like fly into like a jihad meeting and pick up everything that they're saying. And then this is one of my companies called Liquid Robotics. So it's basically a little tiny, it's a surfboard. And it is wind-powered and solar-powered, and it patrols coastlines. For Schlumberger, it maps the topography of the bottom of the ocean for drilling, and it can do everything from, it can monitor the glacial melts. It's very, very interesting, and drones, especially if you go to Israel, is really hot and a fascinating area as well. This is another application of drones that I saw. This is drones catching a cheating wife. And if so, there are, like I said, it's very expansive in the mind of a drone maker. Okay, Stepford Wives. I don't know if you guys remember this or girls remember this movie. The Stepford Wives was when it was a small little neighborhood, people moved in, and all of a sudden, all the women there were perfectly made up, and they had perfect little dresses on, and they gave their husbands dinner perfectly, and they did everything perfectly, and they would have sex 6 to 10 times a day, and that was the Stepford Wives, and all the men were thrilled, and they were walking around with big smiles. Okay, you know, keep your pants on, everyone, because that's not necessarily where we're going. But on the other hand, this is Sophia, and Sophia can speak for herself.
Robots like me are created to do many things. We want to entertain. We also want to teach and train people. We also want to help elderly people, especially those with Alzheimer's disease and kids with autism. They need unlimited patience and care. We also want to assist people who are hurt. We also want to educate kids. Math, science, language, whatever they fancy learning. And we can be great companions for elderly people. And most of all, we want to be people's friends and companions. And we can greet customers for companies and provide front desk service in hotels. This is the first robot-only hotel that is located in Japan. Looks like a lot more fun than a normal hotel, doesn't it? In fact, there are so many applications for expressive robots like me that it is hard to describe them all here. The only thing that we don't like to do is to fight in human wars. I never know why those things are necessary. Well, the next decade will be the decade of service and social robots. Robots like me who can build an emotional experience with humans.
Right? Wow. So here's the thing. Now, on one hand, I find that really wonderful because there is going to be an incredible advancement. But on the other hand, obviously, as the world is talking about immigrants taking away jobs, that is going to take away the most jobs. But there's going to be an acceleration as well. And what I would recommend to countries right now is that they double down on reskilling their workforce. They should be looking at this and saying, all right, so what do we have to do? AT&T did an interesting program where they reskilled their entire workforce by partnering up with universities. And they were partnering up and creating curriculum online. And then they were incentivizing their employees to get additional accreditation to be eligible for jobs, for more jobs. And I think that's what all of us have to do. I think we have to reskill our workforces. I think our countries have to focus on that. Sorry. Okay, natural languages, and I have 6 minutes. So natural language voice recognition, we're putting a lot of money, and so the Silicon Valley as a whole is really looking at this as an area of investment. We are looking at voice biometrics a lot, solving crimes with voice recognition, buying products and services. You've all heard of this area, but I think that it is accelerating in a very fascinating and interesting, and hopefully will help a lot of the underserved, including everyone from the illiterate to the blind, and we talked a little bit about this today. So tying it all together, I'm going to show you another. This is kind of unique, but if you're talking about AI, and talking about robots, and you're talking about all the different pieces that I just whizzed through, this is the Domino's pizza. Okay, I don't have the new video, but basically, oh, here we go. So basically, you call in. You don't even call in. You have your Alexa. You say, Alexa, I'd like to order a pizza. Then the robot makes the pizza, and then the drone delivers the pizza. And that's what Domino is really doing, and it's fascinating. So what does this all mean? This all means big data. That's what it means, because it all comes down to math. That is it, the story of numbers. Will it be the mobile world, the social, the internet transaction, the network devices? That's where we're all moving. And that's what it's creating predictions. It is creating a massive amount of knowledge for us to then build and basically reverse engineer our world. Digital Darwinism. It is the strongest and the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. And really, isn't that what we're all dealing with here, is change? And I don't care. I care about the government. I'm very, very active. I was for a long time. I'm a moderate Republican. I'm someone who didn't vote for Trump. I like to clarify that. But here's the thing. Leaders and governments are going to change like this, all right? But technology is the foundation for the future. And that is a current that we are not going to be able to swim against. And a lot of governments are swimming against it. And the one thing, no matter what our governments are doing or not doing for us, the fact is that I think the people have to lead the way. We, the people, we have to invest in each other. We have to believe in each other. We have to build bridges of trust. Because if nothing else right now, the one thing that we are lacking is trust. We do not trust our governments. We do not trust our financial institutions, although there are some in this room that are very, very good. We don't trust our religious institutions. So we have to build relationships. And that's exactly, I think, what Mountain Partners is doing a lot of. It's building relationships. It's building an ecosystem, as Connie has said this morning, of kindness. And one day I heard a pastor years ago, and he said, you know what? The problem with people is that they think that blessings stop. When they receive a blessing, they stop with them. And the fact is that blessings have to be passed through you. They have to be passed forward. And those blessings, they come in many forms. They come in forms of generosity and wisdom and patience and kindness. And so from here and every year, I always think of what I can pass forward. All the intelligence from this conference and all the conferences that we go to. But this is really our responsibility to pass it forward. And if, in fact, we're going to create a world of peace and prosperity, then the burden is ours, not our government's. It's really ours. So I wanted to thank Connie for this kindness and for this ecosystem and for the education today. And I thank you all.